Part 4.
You're going to hear a lecture on corporate crime. You now have some time to read questions 31 to 40.
Good evening. Welcome once again to Criminology 201. I'm happy to see you all looking so alert and full of energy after a busy day. Tonight, and for the next few weeks, we will be looking at what is clearly a very important topic, corporate crime. First of all, what do we mean by corporate crime? The simple answer, of course, is crime committed by a corporation, usually by the heads of a corporation working together. But what about a crime committed by, for example, the CEO of a company, who without the knowledge of his colleagues, bribes a government official in order to get a big fat contract for his company? Well, we won't be looking at this kind of white-collar crime. Rather, we'll restrict our study to cases where the top people in a business entity work together and knowingly break the law, and especially those cases where, until they get caught, this type of unlawful behaviour is actually part of the corporate culture. First, why do they do it? The simple answer is to make more money. Well, most businessmen want to make more money, but they don't break the law to do so. So what factors make a group of men, yes, they are usually men, but women are by no means immune from this temptation, decide to step outside the law? In the next few weeks, we'll be looking into this question with a lot of case studies in some depth. We will also try to divide corporate crime into several categories and see what they share in common in terms of the psychology and organizational culture of those who commit them. And we will also look into the legal, social, and political settings in which these crimes occur. A particularly interesting aspect of corporate crime is the process of detection, trial, and punishment. It often seems that this type of crime goes on for an unreasonable length of time before it is detected by the authorities. Is this true, and if so, why? There is also a common perception that people found guilty of corporate crimes are treated much more leniently by the courts than, for example, your common everyday thief or murderer even. Is this true? And if so, why? I mentioned that we will divide corporate crime into several categories and look at some specific cases. What categories can we think of? Well, one is that of product safety, where a company markets a product that it knows to be unsafe. One of the landmark cases in corporate criminology of this type is the Ford Pinto case. Ford was accused of rushing the production of an unsafe car, and in 1980 there was the criminal trial of the Ford Motor Company for reckless homicide. We'll look at the research on white-collar crime and studies on organizational culture and structure to examine the lack of safety and recall regulations that may have contributed to as many as 500 deaths. As one report put it, much of the literature on the Ford Pinto case focuses on how consumer safety was willingly sacrificed in the face of corporate greed. Another category of corporate crime is manipulation of a company's share prices. One form of this is insider trading. Closely related and sometimes very difficult to prove is a kind of creative accounting whereby, for example, profits are exaggerated in order to drive up a company's share prices. Take the Enron scandal. On November 29, 2001, the Wall Street Journal ran an article in which they reported that for years the company may have been President Bush's biggest financial backers, donating nearly $2 million to his campaigns. And it appeared that the Bush administration's national energy plan might have been in part an effort to help one of Bush's largest contributors. So we see politics creeping into this corporate crime question.
That is the end of Part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to Part 4. That is the end of the listening test. In the IELTS test, you would now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.